Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Today in the Digital Chemical Playbook, I'm extremely happy to receive Yann. Yann Chilvers is the co-founder and the CEO of Covalo. Covalo, in a few words, is the world's largest personal care ingredients platform. And I'm extremely happy to receiving Yann today for our podcast. Bonjour, Yann. Good morning.
Bonjour, Florian. Good morning. Pleasure to be here following our nice chat also in Barcelona.
Correct. Actually, we met already a couple of times, even in Barcelona. Today, we're going to have the session in English, of course. Can you, Yann, in a few words, this is a podcast where we like to talk about digital transformation, trends, digital trends in the chemical industry and in ingredient industry. We know that personal care has always been one of the most advanced business line within the chemical industry in terms of digital transformation, and you on your side focused on the personal care ingredients. So maybe we can start with you telling us some few words about your story, about how did you start and how you came this role you have today as a co-founder and CEO of Covalo.
With pleasure. So following my studies a bit across Europe, launched first companies during my studies, but then decided to start my career in strategic consulting. And that was before joining Clarion to help them launch the digital strategy and corporate venturing team. Okay. So the idea was really to leverage the corporate unfair advantage of Clarion to launch a new business model. So I started on a first project that was a digital formulator. That was very interesting to really see the power of data. And before joining what was back then called Cambry, which we later spun off with my co-founder, Timo.
Excellent. So you've been working from a consulting to chemical, but your background is not exactly as a chemical engineer, correct? You learned by doing.
No, but it was always interesting to bring. I mean, already as a consultant, you very often don't have the same depth of knowledge as your client. But what you can bring is a different perspective on things. And also, one thing that always passionate me was how you can leverage learning from other industries and bring it to another one. And I think the chemical industry was very advanced in all the back end processes, a lot of black belt, Lean Six Sigma people and so on. But on the customer facing side, there was a lot of things to be done. And so, that has been a extremely interesting challenge on the Clarion side and something that we are happy to pursue today.
That's very interesting. So you started first from having a project within Clarion, second by giving a name with Cambry, and then moving forward with this spin-off on Covalo. So maybe about Covalo, tell us more about Covalo. What's the idea? As you were saying before, what's the unfair advantage behind Covalo?
Yeah, so when we started in 2018, what we noticed was a lot of people were struggling to find ingredient data, detailed one, compare ingredients, and then also get in contact with the suppliers. A lot of the information was in different formats, in different places. So the idea was to build a form of a Google for chemicals. And Clarion has been an extremely fantastic incubator for the idea and very supportive leadership, but we quickly realized that for this to fly, we needed to be independent. We had a lot of clients that were competitors of Clarion and were therefore a bit reluctant to engage with us. That was also the case at DKSA.
Reminds me something. Yeah, indeed.
So that's what led ultimately to the spin-off. Clarion understood this, was a loyal customer ever since. But since we spun off, we decided also to change a bit the approach. So in a nutshell, what we're trying to offer is on the one hand side to brands to enable them to bring sustainable product to market faster. And then on the other side for suppliers and distributors to help them better sell online, basically gain visibility, but also manage all the data flow in a more streamlined manner. And so to your question, what makes Covalo special? We see different pillars. The number one is the segment focus, which really allow us to have much greater depth in terms of our portfolio index, but also in terms of partnerships and also the usage of that data. And the second one is an open platform approach. We don't believe we can achieve anything alone. So we also want to make sure we leverage the strengths of other players in the industry and that we are connected to them. Also the approach within Cosmetic since 2022. And then the last part is everything related to AI and sustainability, where we really try to leverage new technologies to empower the brands to develop more sustainable products.
So you've been putting the focus actually on the concept of sustainability. This is a big, I would say, this is a big not trend but obligation right now, even more on the chemical industry. I understand that many players in this area of digitalization within the industry talking about sustainability. What would be, Yann, your view on a way to get kind of like a harmonized vision of sustainability? What does it mean first? Because every company might have its own perception of this type of topic. How to standardize the justification of sustainability as an ingredient, and also in the logistic and the processes. What is the role of a company like Covalo, and how an ecosystem like our ecosystem can work together to make something that goes beyond the simple objective of a company, but having also an impact on the society?
Yeah, I mean, like it's as you said, it's not nice to have; it's a must-have today, and there is definitely a very strong trend toward less greenwashing, more claim substantiation. And technology is definitely a key enabler of it. It's an enabler in the sense that we can collect, maintain, harmonize data. But then where technology cannot support without a greater buy-in from the industry and the different stakeholders is on how do we use this data. And so if we look at the definition of sustainability, it's not easy. You have like all the SDG goals. You can look at carbon footprint. But if you go in the detail of scope 1, 2, 3, it quickly gets very complex. And we see today, you have the EU Green Claims Directive. You see the Eco Beauty Score consortium. You saw Fiat launching something. You have some of the retailers that also have their own criteria. And ultimately, it's they all individually try to address the topic, but they collectively also contribute a bit to a certain confusion because especially the consumer get overwhelmed with so many different standards and they don't always know what it exactly means. So I think like where technology can really help is to make data comparable, to streamline the approach, but also has a big role to play on the education side. Because I think like when you look at other apps like Yuka or Cosmetic that were in the market for a long time, I think like one of the big complaint of the industry was that oversimplification. And I think like on the sustainability side, we will face the same challenges to be very factual, have a standardized approach, but not oversimplify things. And if we don't educate consumer, this will be very, very difficult.
Correct. There is a risk, no, trying to tend to oversimplifying. And I think, I mean, with a supplier standpoint, you care about your ingredients as a software company, as you care about all the different ingredients that you are listing down into your platform. No, this is a similar challenge as what we have as a distributor, as a DKSH to harmonize, trying to find the standards. Do you think beyond the concept of technology, do you think that potentially blockchain or even AI can help to go faster in this work of harmonization of the data? And this is something that goes about sustainability and also beyond. On this big challenge, we know we have 1,000 of PDF stored somewhere in the office. We are a big challenge of digitalizing it and bringing value to such data. What is your view on this?
So it will definitely help a lot. I think blockchain is mostly about trust, right? When you have a lot of intermediaries, you want to make sure that the data was not tampered with throughout the process. While AI probably will help get access to much deeper data. And I think like where the beauty lies, when we started Covalo, I guess for Discover was the same work. there was a lot of effort in standardizing the data to make it comparable and searchable. Now with AI, we can complement this approach by also tapping into unstructured data, into documents. So we're working very closely with the two leading universities in Switzerland on different AI application. So the number one is really about the data extraction and consolidation, where we also need to pay very attention to all the problem of hallucinations. So
correct.
That is a big topic. So for the people that are not so familiar with the term, it's just simply like when you have a program like ChatGPT that is looking at the entire web, and they might fetch data or like insights that are not correct. And so for a platform like Covalo, the value is that we have really extremely reliable data. We have thousands and thousands of documents. And so therefore we can make sure that the insights that we draw from it are from a very high quality. We can also track how the information changes. And that's where like this element of blockchain or traceability is very important, because ultimately the end consumer wants more sustainable product with the ability to track back all the way to the person that picked up an extract or the raw material. And that responsibility is ultimately pushed down the line. So we push that responsibility to the brand, that pushes it to the supplier, that pushes it to the raw material. And that takes us time. And today, I think a lot of companies are addressing it, not always in a very harmonized manner. So you have the very big group that puts huge resources in place to enable this, but their efforts are usually not very collaborative. So in my view, we still see traceability as a competitive advantage or a differentiator. And I believe that for this to really fly, we will need to see this as an hygiene factor, where a bit similar to banks, where you have the SWIFT protocol, where you have like a standardized approach on how to exchange data, and not see every approach as a well-guarded secret.
Exactly. This is what you were saying when we were discussing before, right? Some tries to get this kind of winner takes it all approach, whereas this is something that will work only if we're taking into consideration this ecosystem approach and going beyond competitions, but going as an ecosystem. And this is bringing me to one of the question I was planning for the end, but I think we can talk about it now, about the role of each of the players from the industry. That's a question we like to ask our guests. Say like, what do you see? What is the role of the distributor, of the supplier, and also of the customers, together with software companies like yours in this whole system? I think interoperability is important, being able to open and connect each other. What's your view, and what's the Covalo vision on this?
I mean, if we start again, like with the consumer set the standard.
Right.
So if the consumer doesn't really know what they want, or wants something that is not really right, unfortunately, what we see is that market is giving consumer what they want. So there is a very strong need to really educate people. And just giving like an example, when people want product that are palm oil free, and then brands just substitute it with another vegetable oil that might be much less efficient and have just equally bad impact on the environment. They are giving the consumer what they want, but doesn't mean that it's fit for purpose. So I think that's the brands and the consumer really need to set the right standard. And then the suppliers and then the brand, basically we see the big players having a very strong push on the industry. So when you see a L'Oreal, a Biosdorf coming to their suppliers and say, look, as of 2028, we are not sourcing these ingredients, then that really creates a very strong sense of urgency for the suppliers, and that just cascades down. So I think like the big players really play a big role to create a sense of urgency. And when we were discussing the role of distributors, I mean, ultimately, a platform like ours is worth nothing if people cannot find the ingredient and are not able to source it, right? So the distributor are extremely important to contribute to that education role around trends around formulation, regulatory, and so on. But they are also ultimately the key stakeholders to bring the product from the supplier to the brand. And so we see suppliers, distributors like really contribute to that ecosystem in many ways. One is as a like safeguarding certain principles. So we see also you are selecting the suppliers that you represent. So you have a bit of a DKSH quality stamp. So that's something that brands will be looking at. Then you support with Discover. By the way, congratulations on the rebranding.
Thank you.
What is also a good way to be allowed the sometimes the smaller, less digital suppliers to be connected to the real world, because otherwise today we see that a lot of the big players have the resources to develop fancy portals and invest in SEO and so on, while the smaller ones are sometimes left behind. And so you have the role of connector. And then, as mentioned, also like all that lead management, all the requests that are coming in, we see in general like the pace is accelerating a lot. And so making sure that the information is directly forwarded to the right person and being acted upon is very important. So, for example, at Covalo, the suppliers can set key contact person per country or region. And then the leads are then directly being redirected to the right person, which allow them to keep that oversight on traffic and performance globally, but then delegate the operational handling of those leads to the right person, should it be their own salespeople or the distributors.
Right. That's true. And this is on the distribution standpoint, as what you might be seeing in your own analytics. We see more and more customers looking for alternative to something, natural alternative to something. I mean, this is one of our top keywords in DKSH Discover. And actually, this is where I think there is a real opportunity for companies like Covalo to being there to show what is the alternative, so that you can fulfill what has been requested by your key supplier independently, whether it's a L'Oreal or another big one. So it means that Covalo is collaborating, and we have to be transparent on that point. Covalo is cooperating with DKSH since 2024. We see you, Covalo, as one of the leading platforms in terms of knowledge and trends from the personal care industry. Just in a few words, what are the trends actually that you foresee? We talked about digital, like product related wise. What are the couple of trends that you foresee for the future?
Yeah. So again, sustainability is very important.
Yes.
So we see more like also science-backed advancement for that claim substantiation. A lot of biotech development. You even see now big brands like L'Oreal making partnership, like they recently announced with the View to develop like a new line of ingredients, which allow for better traceability, lower impact, and so on. We see a very big trend around holistic beauty. So we really at the crossroad of food, well-being, cosmetic, with all the supplements and so on. And it's quite interesting to see also how suppliers and brands are converging on that trend. So we have more and more of the suppliers that are in personal care expanding to the supplement, and then also people that were more on the food side entering the cosmetic side. We have a lot of element around inclusive beauty, which is also quite interesting to monitor. And I mean, like in general, we tried at Covalo to tackle like 4 to 6 trends per year, where we try to go much deeper. So really reflect on the different side of the industry. Should it be regulatory, formulation, brands? Like the supply last year, we tackled the topic of upcycling. We will now have soon like a bin around biotech. We were looking at skinification, and then also neutral cosmetics. So yeah, those are the one where we see a lot of value.
So for our audience, still and always around cosmetic, correct?
Yes. I mean, it's especially when we look at functional ingredients, like active ingredients. That's why we want to have the segment focus, because it's not just about putting ingredients in a standardized format on the platform. You really, really need to educate people. We were recently talking to a company in Australia that's fantastic extract, but they're just some extract that nobody knows. And so if you rely on people looking for the trade name or some of the name of the extract, and then it's extremely difficult to generate visibility for this. And that's why tackling different trends around alternative, around sustainability, around some of the performance claim allow us to also shed light on probably some ingredients that don't benefit today from enough visibility.
That's great. That's very interesting, and also the fact that you share every year 4 to 6 trends related to the industry and product related trends, and I think it's really helping to position yourself as not only a list of ingredients or a catalog, but to provide some kind of value added information related to the cosmetic industries and to the companies, which actually also brings me to my next question. We talked about the role of companies like Covalo or some advanced distributor on moving forward the digital transformation in the chemical industry and here in the personal care industry. What's from your side, Yann? What's your intuition, let's say, in terms of future of e-commerce in the chemical industry? You've been saying at the beginning, right, that you start as a consultant at a client, then you made some online formulations, then a kind of Google for chemical. What's the next? An open AI for chemicals? Anything else? Or what's the upcoming trend from your side?
I strongly believe in more like what we would call vertical SaaS solution. So it's like a software-based solution, but that is really specific to one industry, on which we can build then a transaction module. So if we look at what we try to do is we want to enable brands to better connect, collaborate. So that collaboration part and the connect part are really the SaaS element. And then ultimately also allow them to transact with the right supply. And we believe that just having data or just like an ingredient platform, it's a bit like being the yellow pages. It's convenient, but it's not really moving the needle. And then you need to turn this data into insights to have like already value. So just looking at the platform, we can look at trends, we can look at search patterns, we can understand difference across geographies and so on. But this is also, again, quite generic. To then really have those insights being extremely valuable, we need to turn them into recommendations. And for that, we believe it's very important to go much deeper into our integrations to really understand in what environment our customers are involved in. So, for example, if you know what are the criteria for brands to vet an ingredient, if you understand what they have in stock, if you understand which market they want to sell and therefore which regulation they need to comply with, then you can provide insight and recommendation that are extremely targeted to them. Also because each client optimizes ultimately for something different. In the West, we see a lot of focus on optimizing for performance and sustainability. And other places, people are optimizing for price, lead time. With a lot of supply chain disruption, we see a lot of brands also trying to optimize for supply chain resilience. And therefore are reluctant sometimes to source ingredient from a supplier if they are the only client. So they want to make sure that the supplier has multiple clients for that product, but also that other alternative exist. And so understanding what they are looking for is the only way to really deliver value to them.
So the value and the trigger to that value towards suppliers and customers, from your perspective, is that after a couple of years, maybe more than 10 years of B2C behavior with the marketplace, finding ingredients, filtering ingredients, and so on, we really see a transition to becoming a software that comes here to solve problems, right, from supplier standpoint and customers, in order to listing their data, to getting an access to their information, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a natural evolution. It's in a lot of the technology project, people focus on the end goal, but they are neglecting the foundation. And if we look at, I don't know, take a product like this one, you have 15 to 50 ingredient add. And so you basically don't have a single product without ingredients.
Correct.
And the information on those ingredients need to be used across the entire product development process for regulatory tests, for supplier vetting, and so on. So what we started with this Google for Chemical, or the foundation of Covalo, was just to make sure that we have access to that
strong basis.
And then we can build an other application on top. Starting from the end usage, then that's what a lot of companies are facing. They develop beautiful concept, a nice algorithm, and so on, and then they get to the point where, oh, now we are missing the data, and then it's quite painful to get to the data when the top of the solution is already developed.
And do you see decision makers from suppliers ready to make that step and taking the decision to work with companies like Covalo to support their own transition and transformation?
I think like we had a big shift probably a year and a half ago, where at the beginning all the data was on Covalo, and there is always a question of trustworthiness. Like some suppliers were reluctant to share more information because they were not 100% confident and that their competitors or other people could not access that data. So we have a lot of guardrails. We're vetting users when they sign up. We have the ability to blacklist certain type of companies. But still, the fact that they were not in control of the process was making them quite reluctant. So we launched last year what we call a customer portal offering, which is leveraging our infrastructure for suppliers to really have their own platform. And there they can, it's hosted on their servers. They have their own cloud governance. They can set up their own vetting process for existing customers, prospect. They can vet every single user. And so this is really has been, like, I would say, like a key enabler to get access to better data. And then we are also supporting those suppliers with the integration into brand system or complementary softwares like PLM, regulatory software, formulation software.
Yeah, correct. Because the concept of the topic of regulatory is also a big topic, depending on the market where you expect to sell, and that's awesome that you're moving in toward that direction. We see an existing trend beyond DKSH, beyond DKSH Discover. We see suppliers asking us whether we can help them on this on that direction, and there is a real opportunity for accelerators, companies like you at Covalo. So we've been talking about technology, we have been talking about AI, we have been talking about interoperability, and I think there is a lot of things to explore, and we could further discuss during hours about this concept of interoperability, and we will definitively keep cooperating together on this topic. Yann, just to close the talk of today, anything that we can wish you for the rest of the year, for the months to come, except enjoyable holidays in the month of August?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, again, we don't like to reinvent the wheel, and we also believe that for us to be able to fulfill our mission, we need to collaborate more and collaborate more with people across the value chain. So we have industry associations, you have complementary softwares, brand suppliers, distributors, and so what I would wish, not just for us, but for the industry, is that really the players across the value chain come together and work on the common vision and a common approach, where a platform like Covalo could be like the technology enabler for that transformation. But we already see a certain push in that direction, more openness. In general, like, just ask people not to be too scared and really open to all the positive that can come with it.
Thank you very much, Yann, for participating to this podcast. It was extremely insightful hearing from you and from your 360 view on many of the challenges coming from the industry. For everyone listening to us, I strongly recommend you to visit the website Covalo, and also to contact Yann and his team in case you have some questions or queries. Thank you, Yann.
Thank you very much, Florian.
Wish you a great summer ahead, and we stay in touch. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Likewise. Have a lovely day.